Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Hello Dave with Down to Earth Astronomy. Today's episode of Hello Dave is probably going to be a little longer than used to, but that's because I have a rather interesting story that I want to tell you, but I'm going to save that for the end after we're done with all the news and all the questions. So what else has been going on this week? Well, last week I showed you guys my new lighting setup that I'm still using. It works very well. Been using it for a few streams now and very happy with it. Lamps are at a good level now that they're not blinding me, and I can use it for several hours without being an issue. But I actually also went out and I got even more equipment. So I'm just gonna get my phone out here so you guys can see it, because what I actually What I actually ended up buying is this shock mount that you can see here. Let me just get the pop filter out of the way. There we go. Which is this silver metal ring that surrounds the microphone. Before, it was just attached directly to the arm here, but since I would normally have my throttle sitting here when I'm playing a lead, I would sometimes by accident hit the arm here that actually holds the microphone, which will of course travel through the arm and into the microphone. But now this inner ring is actually only supported through these rubber bands. It's not connected to the outer ring at all. It's only supported by the rubber bands, so they will dampen out all these small bumps and vibration. Maybe not fully, but at least a little bit. So hopefully that means doing live streams especially, you're gonna get a lot better listening experience out of that. So let's just get that pop filter back in there. There we go. So that's it. Again, these things, this is stuff that I can do because of people over on Patreon. I would not be able to do this without people over there. This is the kind of stuff that I'm going to use the Patreon money on. That is better equipment and better software to make everything sound and feel better for you guys. Okay. Then before we get into the news, which there are actually a lot of this week again, I should just say that there will not be a Hello Dave next week. I'll not be available to actually record it, so I'll just skip the Hello Dave for next week. So it'll be 2 weeks until next Hello Dave. So let's get into the news, and as always, let's start with Elite Dangerous. We got a very sneaky ninja patch in Elite this week. We got the 2.3.11 patch, which was announced a couple of hours before the actual downtime on the server. Very small patch note, only like 5 bulletin points, I think, and the server was down for 5 hours, which led to a shit ton of tinfoil hatting. People thinking, oh, what are they're implementing something else behind the scenes they're not telling us in the patch note. It was a short notice. The actual download of the patch was very small, and the long deployment time just gave everybody it made a lot of people speculating about what was going on and what they were doing. And to be honest, I mean, now that it's been almost a week since the patch was launched, and nothing special has really been going on. So maybe it was just a patch. Maybe they were doing hardware upgrades and they just didn't include that in the patch note, which I guess makes sense. I don't know why it took 5 hours to implement that patch. It did, but oh well, it's here, and maybe there are something implemented that we just haven't found yet, or maybe it's not enabled yet. We don't know. Yeah, so let's move on to Fractured Space, because there's a lot of stuff going on in Fractured Space at the moment. It seems like the Edge Case Gaming are happy now with the state of the PvP queue, or at least now they're going to give it an extended trial period to maybe they go back and rework it later. I don't know, but at least now they've turned their focus somewhere else, and they just announced a whole suite of changes that's going to come over the next couple of months, I guess, maybe the rest of the year. We don't know how long this is going to take. Some of the first things they're going to implement are the rework of ship prices. They're going to change ships. Some of them are going to be a little bit more expensive. Some of them are going to be a little cheaper. But of new things, what they've done is they are introducing something they call ship rotation. And as I understand it, and I might be wrong on this, but as I understand it, the way they want to implement this is that every week, maybe, there are four ships that are part of this rotation. And these 4 ships, every player has access to play, even in PvP fights. Meaning that you can then get these ships, take them into combat, try them out, see if there's something for you, try them out in a proper PvP environment, not just some NPC captains in solo play. Which I think is absolutely wonderful. It makes it a lot easier for people to choose which ships they want, so they don't grind for a specific ship, try it out, first time they take it into PvP, they figure out it's not that type of ship at all. So that's great, and it gives players some kind of a small teaser for what the ship is like when they actually get it, or help people figure out if this is something they want. Then later on, there's the removal of DNA, and apparently this DNA is just not going to be removed, so it's not like you have to go out and spend all your DNA right away. It's going to be converted, and it's going to be converted for free to some kind of legendary experience that you can use for some special kind of skins for your ships. Again, I haven't really been going to do much detail with it, but it looks like there's going to be some conversion to some of the some experience for the legendary crew members. And then they're working on the drop pods. The whole RNG wheel that they have right now is going to be removed. They haven't disclosed exactly what's going to replace it, but they say they want to make them more exciting, and you can get maybe more stuff from the drop pod. So opening a drop pod is going to be, I think that what they're going to go for is that every time you're going to get something of use to you, because right now you could open a drop pod and then you get a bit of credit and think, okay, I just get the amount of credit equivalent to 1 game, which is, well, not that exciting, to be honest. So seeing that they're going towards the items in the drop pods being a lot more useful, they're going to be a lot more exciting to open these drop pods, is going to be very interesting. And I don't know, maybe we're going to begin to see people doing fracture space drop pod opening things in the future, just like we see with other in other games. But anyway, then they have been talking about missions and campaigns. They're going to do a complete rework of the daily mission system. Right now, what we do is you have to win, or not just play. I think it's just play actually a certain number of games, then you get a bronze, silver, or gold drop pod. Of course, this is going to be reworked, but they're going to make both daily missions and also weekly missions, meaning, and I think this is absolutely great, because good game design involves a short-term goal, a medium-term goal, and a long-term goal. A long-term goal, for instance, in Fractured Space could be, I want all the ships, or I want all the crew members, something like that, or I want to get my MMR to a specific value. That would be a long-term goal. A short-term goal, that would be your daily missions. That is, I want to log in today and I want to accomplish something. I want to get the feeling that when I log out at the end of the game session, that I accomplished something, other than just lose 3 games in a row, which happens sometimes. And then of course the weekly mission, that's going to be your medium-term goal. That's going to be very easy to go in and see, okay, so I have this mission that over the course of the next week I need to capture this many mining stations, or this many kills, or do this much damage, or something like that, or heal this much hit points, or I don't know, something along those lines. Maybe in a specific type of ship, they also said they might do that, so maybe you have to go out and say, now I have to play your healing ship. But don't worry, they will include a reroll button, so you can, if you get a support mission and you don't really like playing support ships, you can just reroll and get something else that you hopefully like a little bit better. That's going to give you your midterm goal, your short-term, or medium-term goal is what I'm looking for, which is absolutely wonderful. So hopefully what that's going to mean is we're going to see more players in the game, playing for hopefully longer at the time. And also coming back every week and every day to try and see the new daily missions and see what new ships are on the rotation, so they can try out new ships, all that stuff. And there's lots of other changes with, again, pricing and skins that are being changed over, but all that is still in the working, so I don't want to go into too much detail because, again, this is still just ideas floating around, and I guess I'll go into more detail with it once we begin to see some actual changes in the game over the next couple of months. So that's Fractured Space. Then I'm going to go into some questions. There were a few questions on last week's episode. One of them were, what do I think will make power play in Elite Dangerous a more viable option? So power play at the moment, and I completely agree with the premise behind the question, is that it's not really that viable, and not really that many there are players playing power play. But to be honest, for most players, what they do is they sign up with Duval for 4 weeks to get the prismatic shield boosters. That's it. Sign up 4 weeks, do what you need just to scrape by and get access to the shield boosters. Once you do that, you buy a bunch of them so you have plenty, and then you leave again. What I would like to see, and this is probably going to be a slightly longer answer than was actually needed. But what I would love to see with power play was to get this be a more social thing, because right now, it makes sense. You fly around as an independent pilot. You're going to be teaming up with people from time to time when you find your friends in space, or you just meet up with some random person that are doing the same thing as you, and you can team up with those. But most of the time, you're going to be spending flying around on your own. I mean, even for a role-playing point of view, that's going to make sense. You are probably going to be an independent pilot. But what I would love to see was if power play were, instead of now being just independent pilots fighting for a nation or for a faction, it would be groups of players that would be special missions or tasks that you had to do that requires more than one player. So you would have to go out and get other players in your power play faction, go out and do that. This would of course require a lot of infrastructure around this, because they would need clear communication channels so people could easily find other people in their faction, and they need to make sure that a single faction that the missions are all in a specific area, so players are not scattered out through the whole galaxy, and they need to gather everybody together just to do something, to make it a lot more easy for people to play together. I think that would be great. Maybe even having great like lots of ship fighting, like huge battles going on. But the problem with that is that the Elite is, as far as I know, is a P2P network game, meaning that it does not connect to a central server, and then the central server distributes the information about where the ship is, what commands they're used. So when I turn my ship, if I'm playing together with two other people, whenever I do a command, I turn my ship, fire my weapons, that is being sent directly to their computers, both of them. That means I need to send that information to two other people. And I'm also going to receive information from two other people, instead of what many other games do, is you send it to a server and that server then sends it out. Of course, this means that the server cost is going to be a lot lower, because they don't need the servers to handle all this. But again, it also means that the session doesn't scale that well with the number of players, because if players have maybe a lower bandwidth, or their computer maybe can't handle all the network traffic while playing the game, it's going to limit the number of players you can have in the same session, and you're going to begin to see some instancing issues and other weird effects that we have seen with a lot of people in the same session or same instance. So if you really wanted big fights with lots of ships on either side, I think that's something that could appeal to some people, being part of that. You could go in, maybe there would be a weekly spot where you know that at this time, at this week, there are these huge fights are pre-arranged, just an automatic thing that goes on in the game. You could go in, you can sign up for your faction, and you can then use that to actually fight for space. That would be pretty cool, pretty fun. I was also asked, moving on to the next question, when I do my live streams. And unfortunately, that's a more difficult question to answer than it probably should be, because I do not have a fixed streaming schedule. Even though I would love to, I don't. The reason why I don't is because if I had a fixed streaming schedule, I would not always be able to make it. I mean, I tend to prefer to stream in the weekends, because I live in GMT +1, live in Denmark. So that means if I'm going to, I can of course stream in the European prime time. But if I want to make streams that also includes the overseas people in the US, the streams would be very, very late if they have to be in their prime time, which of course doesn't work well with my work outside, not that this is really work, but with my work, meaning that if I want to include the overseas people, I'm often streaming the weekends. So if I had to have a streaming schedule, I would probably do it in the weekends, but I cannot always commit myself to be streaming at a specific time every single weekend. Then I would have to do it every other weekend, but again, I feel like 2 weeks between each live stream is a little bit too long. At least, I mean, there might be like vacations or stuff like that, but in general, I think 2 weeks is a little bit too long between live streams. I really enjoy streaming quite a lot. I think it's very fun. It's nice to be able to engage a lot more with people than I usually do. So that's why I don't have a fixed streaming schedule. But that being said, there are times where you are more likely to find a live stream than others. And I often stream, as I said, in the weekends, so probably Saturday, sometimes Saturday, sometimes Friday. I try to keep it at Saturday if it's possible to do it that day. And the streams often start at 9 or 10 p.m. Central European time. So that would be UK +1. So if you live in the UK, it would be between 8 or 9 p.m. in the afternoon. And, well, I don't know where else you live in the world. In the US, they are 7 hours behind. So at that point, the streams are 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But again, it's often in the weekends. So hopefully it fits people a little bit better than it would if we were streaming on a weekday. Okay, so I think that's it. It's unfortunate, but that's just how it has to be for it to work for me, and to make YouTube fit in with everything else going on. So I promised you a story at the beginning, because this is going to be a fairly long story. I don't know how long it's going to take. And the reason why I kept it here at the end is because I know this is not of interest to everybody, so that's why I kept it here. But if you are a YouTuber yourself, if you run your own channel, you would most likely have either heard of or been approached directly by what is called multi-channel networks. And for those who don't know what a multi-channel network is, it is basically a company that sells ads on YouTube channels. So basically, right now, my channel is connected with what's called AdSense. This is basically Google's. I just connected up with the Google whole ad infrastructure. So a company approaches Google and say, I want to play an ad on YouTube, and it should be this type of video and this type of audience with that age and all the demographic information that they want. And then Google will automatically figure out, okay, where would this fit? And they will put it in some kind of lottery thing, and they will post the videos post the ads in front of the videos that are monetized, and then part of the money goes to the creator, and part of the money goes to Google. And that's how YouTube how you make ads. So you don't have, as an individual YouTuber, to go out and make brand deals with everybody to actually have ads on your channel. Okay, but often you will, but these multi-channel network, what they do is, so instead of you having the ads coming from Google, you will now have the ads coming from that company, and that company should then go out and they will then procure deals with other companies to run the ads on their channel. So I hope that makes sense. And often these multi-channel networks, what they're trying to sell you is, first of all, they have all these very neat tools, and to be honest, some of them are very neat. I mean, I've been looking into it lately, as you can imagine, and some of the extra features that they offer you are actually pretty neat, like multi-platform posting. So I could have just one platform where I could post to Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and everything, and I could manage comments and all kinds of stuff, all neatly packed in one nice package. Lots of other good stuff like music libraries, audio file libraries, so you can get the sound clips and background music and all that stuff. You can use that for free, and they'll give you access to that. So they actually offer you quite a few things. But what they would often also offer you is to say, well, you can get a higher CPM or RPM. And what that is so CPM is cost per mile, or the cost of an ad per 1,000 impressions. So for 1,000 plays of a specific ad, what does that cost? or RPM is the revenue per mile. So basically the same thing. So I got approached this week, or last week actually, by one of these multi-channel networks. I'm not gonna mention who it was. I haven't signed anything, so I guess there's no legal reason why I shouldn't be able to. But there's no reason to be hanging people out like that. But anyway, I got approached by one of these networks, and I get the standard deal saying, oh, okay, you get more money for your work, and you'll get all these great tools, and we will help you build your channel, and we will post your videos all over the internet, and you'll get tons and tons of views, and it's gonna be great. And so okay. So I begin to talk to this guy, and I begin to ask him questions. All the legal stuff, like, okay, so if I were to partner up with you, who owns the legal rights to the content I'm making, and do you have any kind of login? Because many of these things, these contracts that they offer have a login period, meaning that if you sign up, you're going to have to stay for a certain period. And tons of questions, what kind of revenue split there is. And now that we're talking about revenue split, so as I said before, when an ad is played on my channel, Google takes a cut. So let's just, for simplicity's sake, let's imagine we have a company that wants to play an ad on YouTube. And just to make it easy, let's say they're paying $10 for having that ad played 1,000 times. That's maybe a little high. I don't actually know what they are paying, I know what they're paying on my channel, but I don't know what they are paying in general. But I think 10 is a little high, but it makes it easier to calculate. So let's say they're paying $10 per 1,000 times the ad is played, and let's say this ad is then played 1,000 times on my channel. Then Google will then get $10 for playing their ad. And then they will of course split it with me. I get $550, so I get 55%, and they get 45%. They get $450. So that's the split. Okay, this company then say, oh, we can offer you a 70-30 split. So I'm thinking, okay, so if the company goes to this network, this multi-channel network, and they play the ad on my channel instead of Google, then instead of getting the $550 out of the $10 that they're paying, I would now get $7. So I'm thinking, well, that's a pretty good deal, right? But the login was pretty long, and it was a 1-year login on this contract. So I thought, I expressed my concern saying, oh, well, a year, that's rather long. And he says, okay, you know what, I can do like a trial deal with you, so you get half a year login and you still keep the 70-30 split. So thinking, okay, for half a year login, and I would potentially see an increase by 50% in the revenue for the channel. This is worth investigating a little bit further. So I say, okay, you know what, send over an agreement or a contract, and I'll look it over. I'll give it a read. So I sent over a contract, and the first thing I noticed is that the contract says the revenue split is 60-40 and not 70-30. So I said to him, what the hell's going on? He said, oh, I'm sorry. And then he sent over the right contract. That could have just been a mistake. It might have been them trying to pull my legs. I don't know. So I get the right contract with this 70-30 split on half a year login. And then I begin to read into it. And what they do is they distinguish between two types of ads. They have what's called direct sales ad. And those are the type of ad I just explained, where the multi-channel network approaches a company, or a company approaches them. They secure a deal to play the ads, and then the ads is played on my channel. And the other types are Google ads. That, of course, is just them playing ads from Google from AdSense, the same thing that I'm doing right now, just connecting straight to Google. And of course, they will do that because if they cannot fill all the space that they have, all the channels they have, they will of course play ads from Google because there's no reason for that ad space to go to waste. Even though they might not get the same amount of money from that as they would from others. So begin to look through this contract, and what I notice is that the 70-30 split is only on Google Ads. And on the direct sales ad, the one where they procure the deal directly with the company, that's a 50-50 split. So I'm sitting here thinking, okay, but still, it's a 70-30 split, but on Google Ads. So I'm thinking, okay, what's going to happen basically is let's say that the multi-channel network will play an ad on my channel if I were to sign up with them. Then company goes to Google saying, I want this ad played 1,000 times for $10. Let's say $10 again. Then the multi-channel network say, we have free ad space. Then that ad is then being played. Let's say it's being played that's 1,000 times on my channel. Then first the company pays the $10 to Google. Then Google takes their 45%, sending the $5.50 to the multi-channel network. And then they're going to take 30% of that, leaving me with something like $3.60 after that aspect. That's around a third is left after everybody is taking their share. And I'm thinking, wait. So this is like, then I'm going to lose like 30% or 40% of the current revenue that I have from the channel. Not that that's why I'm doing it, but still, why would I pay 30% of the revenue from the channel just to get access to a music library that I'm frankly not going to use? I mean, they do have some other useful tools, but still, that's a rather high fee. So again, the other channels, if they come in if they make the deal directly, I only get 50%, which is lower than the 55% that I get now at Google. So they have to get higher prices on their ads. But why would a company go to a multi-channel network and pay more if they would just go to Google and get it played on the same channel for less? That just didn't make sense to me. So I expressed that concern to their agent again. And then he says, okay, you know what we can do? We can make you a 90-10 split. So I'm going to get 90% of the Google ads, but still Google takes the 45, then they get their 550, and then I'm going to get 90% of that, which is a lot better. And then I'm thinking, okay, so a 90% contract, that's a 10%, potentially, that's going to be a 10% reduction in my revenue. Assuming that they can get slightly higher prices for their ads, their direct sales is going to make me a 10% reduction in my revenue for some of those features that they're offering. And I'm beginning to think, okay, that might be worth it. So they said, okay, try to send over a contract like that. And he sends over the 1910 revenue split contract. And then I noticed, when he sent it, he said, oh, by the way, this is a 1-year login. You can't get this in a half-year login. Then we're back to the beginning where I don't want to log in for a whole year. So, as you can see, this has been a rather long story, and it's been going on over a couple of weeks now. I've been talking to this guy, and I decided that I'm not going to go with these guys. And at the end of the day, I mean, when all this started, I had an idea about what multi-channel networks was, but I never really sat down and went through it in detail, whether this was something that would be profitable or not. And the impression that I got is that playing those direct sales ad is more the exception than the rule. So basically, they're just going to be playing Google ads on my channel. So I'm just giving them 10% for absolutely no work at all, other than those features, which I don't really think is fair. Because, well, then I thought, what would happen if I just took 10% and then spent that on promoting the channel? I would get a lot more value for those 10% if I spent the money myself on promoting the channel, or just bought into some of these features that I want. Then I could cherry pick exactly what I needed if I wanted some useful features for multi-platform posting and all that stuff. So at the end of the day, I decided to say, nope, not going to do it. I'm going to stay as an independent channel. Not that if I were to sign up, it would have changed anything for you guys. You probably wouldn't notice. Maybe you would see some other types of ads being played, but other than that, you probably wouldn't notice anything. So that's been going on as well, and I've given this quite a big deal of quite a bit of a thought to figure out what I should do, but also try and figure out how this whole thing is actually working. Because before this, I actually didn't know. I had a vague idea of what was going on with these multi-channel networks, but I never really researched it in deep to get an idea about how it actually works. But now that I know, my recommendation, if you're sitting out there as a small YouTuber or any size YouTuber, is that you should really always read those contracts in detail, and unless they can offer you something very, very good for taking part of your revenue, you should do it. I mean, remember this. Those 10% might be a fairly small amount right now, but hopefully your channel is going to grow over the next year. I mean, if you're locked in for a year, what's your revenue going to be in a year? And many of these networks are notoriously hard to get out of. I was researching this specific one, and people have been telling stories that they have given them the 30-day notice before they want to leave at the end when their contract were to expire, so it wouldn't get renewed, and they wouldn't get any replies from people, even though they were sending them several mails. It would take them 2 weeks, and then they would say, oh, but now that we got it, we first read it 2 weeks later, and now it's too late, and the 30-day have passed, and you're already locked in for the next year, and they really just try to fuck you over as soon as you're in. So that's one of the reasons why I decided not to go with this. Not saying that I won't do it in the future if I get a good deal, but at least for now, I am gonna stay as an independent channel, just running AdSense. But anyway, as I said, this was a quite long episode today. I hope you found some of it useful. And again, feel free to ask questions in the the comment section down below, and I'll try to take them up in next week's episode. Not next week's, next episode, which is going to be in 2 weeks, of Hello Dave. So again, thanks a lot for watching, and until next time, I will see you guys in space.